Today I'm telling you my top 5 favorite chase cards from Emissaries of Light. Now this expansion for the Final Fantasy TCG came before the most recent expansion, Rebellion's Call. We're traveling back in time just a little bit. There's a ton to love about this set. Let's go ahead and take a look. The very first card on our list is this Lightning Full Art reprint. Now, even though this is a reprint of a past card, I really believe that this is the most desirable Lightning card we have had to date. Maybe with exception of the Opus 1 Wave 1 Lightning foil. Now the reason that this card stood out to me is because this is a very classic Lightning pose. It seems like I've seen this image in so many different marketing materials. It's just very dramatic and she's very poised as sort of the hero of light, if you will, in this series. Looking very confident, very assured with her signature sword in hand. This like rainbow foil effect that is forming the backdrop here. It's just a really brilliant card. I'm absolutely sure it would be a stunning piece in person. Now this card saw a lot of hype when it first released, selling for around 150 bucks. It has since seen a big dip as many cards, as many TCGs in the collectible space have in recent days. You can see recent sales going for around $75, giving it a TCG Player marketplace of $107.07. Next up, we've got this Shantoto Full Art card. Now the reason I like this is I feel like the Final Fantasy XI game doesn't really get a lot of full art representation. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is actually like the only Final Fantasy XI full art, just off the top of my head. But Shantoto is a main character from Final Fantasy XI, one of the main trust or NPC party members you can enlist to aid you in battle. And she is a black mage, very powerful. And you can see that represented here, her in the middle of casting what looks to be a very devastating spell. I love all of the different purple hues in this one. I think this one, like our Lightning Full Art, would look really brilliant in person. Shantoto is a standout Lalafell character from Final Fantasy XI. I think she will remain pretty important going forward. We'll have legs as people look back to Final Fantasy XI as a truly classic, not only Final Fantasy entry, but also just MMORPG in general. Now again, we've seen a little bit of a dip on this card, not as extreme as the Lightning Full Art reprint. It did release for a little bit over $50 and has since dropped. It has a current TCG Player market price at $46.44. And actually the most recent sale as of the making of this video was $33.58. Now right here we have Titus Full Art. Now Titus is a classic character from, I think, the very beloved Final Fantasy X series in the franchise. And I've got to say, the reason that I love this full art is because it is a brilliant original illustration of Titus that we have not seen in any kind of marketing materials, no kind of concept art or anything like that. So it looks really fresh and original, and I think that's going to help it stand out a lot, especially when the Final Fantasy TCG sometimes uses some marketing images that we've seen before on some of their cards. Now, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, as we saw with the Lightning Full Art reprint. That works really well for that card. I just think there's room for both, and it definitely gives the TCG variety to have some of the images that we're familiar with alongside some original art. Titus right in the middle of playing blitzball here underwater, got his like water inspired sword in hand, just really feeling the eye appeal on this one, and I think it could be a classic for any Final Fantasy X fan. Again, a little bit of a dip on this card alongside other Final Fantasy TCG cards. We got a current TCG Player market price of $75.75. Coming out around a little bit over $86, but one that I think will stand the test of time. Okay, so a little bit of a runner-up to our Titus cards. So I guess there are technically 6 cards in today's video, but this is a Riku EX Full Art, and I think it's just hitting all the same points I just mentioned with Titus. We've got an original illustration here of who I think is a real fan favorite for Final Fantasy X, Riku, in a very dynamic pose. I love the colors on this one, kind of with these very light red, pink, and orange hues down near the bottom, and kind of blending to a very much darker version of these same colors with her top and sort of armband, transitioning over to a brilliant blue backdrop. The colors are just really vibrant and beautiful on this one, giving it a really, really strong eye appeal. Again, an original illustration of Riku, just a really nice card to have if you're a Final Fantasy X fan. Okay, my next pick is this Lena Full Art reprint. Now, I'm guessing that the reprint is giving it the full art form, and we have seen this previously without the full art. And the reason I chose this character, I'm not even familiar with Final Fantasy V, where Lena comes from, but the illustration is done by none other than Yoshitaka Amano in his very signature signature style that we've seen on a lot of Final Fantasy cover art and in various marketing. Now I'm guessing this character is either a summoner or a dragoon, because we have this kind of summoner garb and we have a little dragon creature here, but it could also be maybe kind of like a dragoon character with the dragon representing that. But I love how minimalist this is in terms of the background. So we just get the subject itself along with the dragon and then complete foil forming the backdrop. So I would imagine this would look just really stunning in person and carrying that timeless classic Amano design with it. Even having no experience with Final Fantasy V myself, I can see a lot of appeal with this card. And although it looks like a big drop on the TCG Player market price chart, it actually hasn't dropped that much. It came out around $27 and recent sales are around $25. So it could just be one that's kind of under the radar and hasn't seen a lot of market activity and therefore has been a little bit more stable. Closing out our list today for Emissaries of Light is this Vane Full Art reprint. Now I did check on this one and we have not seen a full art version of Vane before. We have seen several other cards of Vane, and the reason I wanted to include this one on the list is we don't typically see a lot of love for the villains, I feel like, compared to the heroes anyways. This is something that you can track in comic books. YouTube channel Team CGC 9.8 has talked about this several times, where the first appearances of villains or origin stories of villains and so forth just tend not to have the same values of first appearances of heroes. And I think we can kind of see that in the Final Fantasy TCG. So Vane was a little bit lower on the list, and we actually have some non-full art hollow foil cards that are actually more expensive than Vane in this full part version. Now it looks like there's been a big spike on this card, but again, it's a very small amount. I mean, he's fluctuated between about $10 and $9, kind of back up to $10. So I think he's just a great card to pick up for $10. So he is the main villain from Final Fantasy 12. And I feel like the Final Fantasy 12 entry in the Final Fantasy franchise is just a little bit slept on right now. You know, we have the Final Fantasy VII remake, so Final Fantasy VII is getting a lot of attention, and I think in turn so is 8 and 9 from that sort of PlayStation 1 era. And then of course there's Final Fantasy 14, which is still going very strong, and then people are kind of looking forward to Final Fantasy 16. I think that's going to be releasing sometime soon. So yeah, just not a lot of love for Final Fantasy 12 right now, but it is one of my all-time favorites. I love the Gambit battle system in that game. Now, no, not everyone is a huge fan of Vaughn the Sky Pirate, but I really like a lot of the characters. I do like the story, and I think it's just one of the standout titles in the Final Fantasy franchise for me. So as a result, I do like this Vane Full Art reprint. So that does it for my top chase cards from Emissaries of Light. Let me know what your favorite card from Emissaries of Light is down in the comments below. If you want to see my top chase cards from the latest set, Rebellion's Call, you're going to go watch that video right over here. Otherwise, YouTube thinks you're going to like this video right here. Thanks so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing. Join our fellowship of collectors, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.